Hello brothers of the Night's Watch, it's Sir Rusty here. Today I'm going to be playing Game of Thrones from 2012. This is not the Telltale one. This was developed by Cyanide Studios, and it is the RPG. Yes, there was an RPG. Critically panned on release. But I was intrigued enough to get it, because when it came out there was one review I remember saying that the story and stuff was good, and I was a sucker for anything Game of Thrones back then. Still kind of am, but not as much maybe, because it was released 2012, which was a year after the last book. Blimey, I can't believe that came out 5 years ago then. Dance with Dragons. God, he takes his time. George R. R. Martin actually helped write this apparently, so that would maybe go towards saying why the writing's quite good, because it is connected to the TV show, as you can probably tell from the theme tune in the background, which is probably going to get me copyright strikes. Maybe I'll have to dub over it or something. But yeah, based on the TV show rather than the books, I would guess, although they're kind of similar. I don't know. It's like George wants the books to stop and the TV show to finish it now. It's like he's given up. So anyway, let's resume game. Cyanide Studios developed a previous Game of Thrones game in 2011, which was terrible by all accounts. Panned even more than this one. That was a strategy game. Game of Thrones Genesis, I think it was called. So yeah, it includes characters from the TV show. I think we'll refer to the TV show, seeing as it's based off that, the style anyway. And here we are. We are on chapter 4. Going to the Sarwick Manor. Because your two main characters, you have two in this game. It takes place, this is 3 months before the events of the first series of Game of Thrones. So, and I'm investigating. I've got to find some letters. This is Lord Sarwick, who is a Red Priest of R'hllor, the Light of R'hllor, the one god, and he ran away 15 years ago after Robert's rebellion. There's a lot of backstory of Game of Thrones in this, which is good if you like Game of Thrones. Nothing down here. And yeah, he ran away to the free cities of Bravos, became a Red Priest, like Melisandre and the other guy, I've forgotten his name. And he came back, he found out his father had died, and came back to essentially reclaim his birthright, say hi to his family again, pay his last respects. And now I'm sort of uncovering a plot, because he might have been poisoned, your father. It's very similar to Game of Thrones in the whole Jon Arryn plot. Yeah, there's loads of codex entries and stuff.
No, this door opens onto the square. Not exactly a discreet exit.
Right, two things you'll notice more the other one, but you've probably already seen now. The graphics, even for a game that's 5 years old, not very good. Anyway, let's read this. My Lord Lambert, House Sarwick is in mourning. My Lord Father is dead, and I've been accused of murdering him. It's all part of an effort to prevent me from making claims to my lawful inheritance. I'm heading in all case to King's Landing. I must see King Robert, blah blah blah. Essentially, yeah, so you've got a younger brother, because everyone assumed you were dead. Your sister...
No, this door opens onto the square.
Yeah, you said
Not
that.
Exactly a discreet exit.
Your sister and your younger brother, who was basically a baby when you left. So he doesn't know you're alive, but he's the one that's been accused of your father's murder. So the plot is quite intriguing for this character more so than the other, who is called Mors, and he's a brother of the Night's Watch. And his story takes place
Our manse was ransacked.
concurrently with
really
Series 1. He's about to go off to King's Landing as well, or to Molestown. And I think their stories join up. But yeah, look at the texture quality, it's just horrible. My sweet Gawain, that's the brother Gawain. Madame Chattier says that I'm forever frowning when she brings me One of these days I should do this in a woman's voice. How can I not, when the sound of your warm laughter still echoes in my alcove? Your Lord Lambert led me to believe that you would soon return to King's Landing. It would be perfect time to finish the game of Chevas. It still clutters up my table. Do you recall the stakes we set? Your Felena who yearns for you.
I see. It would appear that my little brother developed an infatuation.
This guy, his voice acting's probably one of the better ones, which kind of says it all really. There is some terrible voice acting. So I guess that's it. I guess I've explored the manor. Explored it. Oh dear.
We have guards at every entry point, but there's always a rat who
Some gold cloaks.
Come on, men. There's vermin to get rid of here.
His voice, he's been someone else, right? Oh good, we get to show some combat almost immediately. So it's kind of Dragon Age combat, pause combat, real time with pause. You queue up moves. And that's it really, it's very simplistic. The animations aren't particularly good. This is the first time I've fought in a sort of narrow confine, and it's terrible. So, these are my abilities. You get to pick 3 classes for each of your characters, your main characters. This guy, I picked a water dancer for him, as in Arya Stark. So, these are his water dancer abilities, light as a feather, fierce as a wolverine. I've only unlocked 2, got no energy. You can recharge your energy, that's the yellow bar at the bottom. It's one of your moves. Takes it one of your moves though, that does. So I've got an immobilizing move and just a better attack, I would guess. It does critical. What does it say? That's the immobilizing one. But I don't think my weapon that I'm using on this guy is particularly good because he's wearing full plate. So there is a bit of depth in terms of the type of weapon you use and the opponent you're fighting and the abilities, I would guess. But, oh, and he's dazed me. I got him anyway. It's fine. So yeah, it doesn't look particularly nice, the combat. And essentially you do end up just kind of just doing the normal attack. I haven't come across any enemies yet where I'm like, oh, this is a really hard battle to win. And it looks pretty dated. So anyway, that guy has disappeared through the wall. She's at a brothel. Oh no, is she actually a whore? So we're in King's Landing at the moment, I forgot to say that. Because he's essentially come to petition King Robert. King Robert who is still alive. 3 months prior to Game of Thrones. Getting some more combat probably, so I can hopefully show you the leveling up as well. But yeah, as you can see, it's more Dragon Age 2 than Dragon Age 1. Although actually Dragon Age 2 had very few abilities to use. You just sort of spam the attack basically. It was more style over substance. But yeah, not much in the way of tactical combat compared to Dragon Age Origins, say, or some old CRPGs. Now, here is... Wait, I can actually get the FOV a bit better. I had to edit an innie to do that, because, yeah, as you can see, it's quite a bad console port, this. If I turn too quickly in this busy area... It's not actually doing it now. Just wait till I get somewhere busy. The frame rate just chugs. There's lots of stuttering. I couldn't find a fix for that like I could for the FOV. I don't think the FOV is the thing that's busting it. Oh, there we go. We got some there. So it's not a very good port. I don't know if it ran this badly on consoles. But for a 12-year-old game, I mean, it got so panned. Maybe they never bothered to update it. Oh, I'm guessing that's the brothel. It's very red. So, yeah, there was the reason, like I say, that I wanted to play this more is the story. Which, so far, like this whole murder plot, you know, it's quite intriguing. Also the Moors. And any extra bit of Game of Thrones lore I can get, I'll lap it up. Even though I haven't watched the latest series. What is it? Series 6 and 7's about to start. Or maybe it's 6 that's about to start. But I've missed one. First off, it's because I was waiting for the book. But he's, you know, he's taking his time. How long did it take for... Oh, there we go, there's some. When you get too many people, you get the slowdown when you turn the camera, because it obviously has to load up all these excellent graphics and characters. Look at the texture quality, though. Texture quality on those boobs. Not great. Let's chat to the prostitute anyway.
He's a visitor who brings back pleasant memories. Is that really you, Sir Alistair?
Either people I'm talking to at the moment, not too terrible.
With your presence. It's been so long. I thought you'd lost interest in houses of pleasure.
There's some awful ones, though.
My eyes have been opened to the light of Relore, and I took up the red robes of priesthood.
The gods
Melisandre's pretty okay with getting her tits out and fucking, though.
hands to build their temples, and desire to honor them.
You haven't changed.
Yeah, he seems... George R. R. Martin seems fine with letting them finish it.
If there's
He
any
takes so long to write the books, he's probably going to die before he finishes them, let's be fair. And I just don't think the show is doing it as well as he does it.
I'm looking for a certain
I will talk about that a bit more later. I could waffle on about the show and what I don't like about it and what I don't like about the books for ages, but we'll just turn into a ramble.
pertinent enough to please you, my dear. I'm surprised that you know her.
I learned that she was,
But this stuff, more plotty stuff,
Of course.
is good.
I should have
I just played Dungeon Siege 3 and that was pretty much all combat, not a particularly interesting story.
Would you care to
This
spend
is
some
bad
time in
combat,
pleasant company?
visually bad, badly optimised,
Do go upstairs.
terrible voice acting.
Her room is at the end
Look
of the
at that.
corridor on
What
the
is that
left.
black thing that's just floating in the air in front of her?
Sad as of late. Perhaps you will succeed in comforting her.
But obviously, with George helping, you know, they wanted to make a pretty good story. Even if in the long run it doesn't really matter. Because it's, you know, it's a prequel slash concurrent with. So I don't know if these characters will appear in the books or if they have appeared in the books. I'm sure they don't appear in the TV show.
What did I tell you?
Can go just standing there watching a woman dance badly.
Look at that one there.
Who goes to, like, watch? Who has their private dance with a friend? Disgusting men. Alright, let's go upstairs and find my whore. Why are they all wearing the same? These weird little chains.
That's my robe. That way you could be sure I don't have any cards hiding about my body.
Good idea. Yeah, you can just nick stuff. No one cares. These random codex entries hidden everywhere. But yeah, that is horrible, that slowdown. I can see why some people didn't finish it. Oh. So, in most games, say a Russian game, for instance, that would be a cheeky nude scene, probably.
Many pardons, my lord.
It's
But I am
Varys.
not Sir Alistair Sarwick. I heard tell that you had returned to the Seven Kingdoms.
I'll let you hear a bit of voice acting.
You appear to know much about me. To whom do I have the honor of speaking?
I realize that my impromptu intervention might have startled you, my lord, but pray, do not take umbrage. The return of a war hero could not help but attract my attention, particularly when his return proves to be so ostentatious.
I won no honors in the war, just scars. But you have yet to introduce yourself.
Your modesty does you honor, my lord. You forged quite a name for yourself fighting for King Robert in his rebellion. Excuse my rudeness. I've not yet told you my name. I am Lord Varys, and I hope you will count me as a friend.
So yeah, as you can see, we've got the voice actors from the TV show, a few of them, Varys and Jorah Mormont, I think are the only ones so far. And kind of Jaw is phoning it in, Varys is alright. I'm surprised Littlefinger hasn't popped up, seeing as he owns the one and only brothel in King's Landing, at least as the TV show goes. And he's one of the characters I really don't like.
Lord Varys. Oh yes, I know
How they've made him compared to the book.
Whisperers to old King Aerys Targaryen.
Like, he just explains what he's going to do, like his plot. He's just really subtle. He comes across as a bit of a fool in the book. Not this, like, ridiculous exposition, almost like evil genius. And he also teleports around in the show, like, oh, he's over here now and he's here. Although he's not as bad as Brienne in that regard. Oh my god, Brienne.
Rebels called you the Spider. Some of our lords were...
Alas.
So, Varys is involved anyway. That's good. It means it's kind of, you know, it's got the big players in it.
Their reputations with informers. But in the Game of Thrones, information is power. Those who most despise us are often...
So, yeah, you get dialogue choices. They're kind of different. It's not like The Wheel. It more describes his internal thoughts, like it might do in the book. Apparently, these choices, a lot of them seem like choices, do affect the ending of the game and what happens. So you are playing a role, and that's the same for both of the main characters.
Please pardon my curiosity.
I've had to make a few decisions so far, so I think it'll affect what happens with my sister, who essentially I've come here to stop our stepbrother marrying her, because of course this is Game of Thrones. Incest is best in the world of Game of Thrones. Cersei apparently certified it, said it was okay to happen, so of course she would. He must be here to see me.
It would really surprise me if our meeting were purely chance.
I'm sure Alistair Sarwick is not in Game of Thrones. But yeah, there's quite a lot of dialogue.
Why not? There is one question that I've never been able to...
Trying to think of examples of an interesting quest, because the combat's not very good. There was a rebellion. It was very underwhelming visually, but one of the sort of side quests while doing it, well, I guess it was the main quest, was to sort of decide people's fates. The guards were about to execute 4 people, and I had to listen to their stories and then the guards' stories and essentially make a choice. So that was good. If an RPG's got story mechanics, and RPG is such a broad thing now, I'd say this is maybe more an action RPG, but it's not really, because it's got that semi-pause real-time combat. CRPG with ARPG elements. It's so broad. I think if I'm role-playing it as me, it wasn't. I don't know, because I don't really agree with monarchies anyway, but in terms of this character, it was probably the right thing to do, because...
Some good came of it all the same.
See, I never got Eddard Stark's opinion on this, and people who hate the Kinslayer, because the king, Daenerys, what would it be, granddad? Father? Aerys Targaryen sounded awful, sounded like a despot, dictator, a crazy man. So yeah, he should have been taken down. The Rebellion's actually quite an interesting plot. You don't get much of it from the TV show, but you get more backstory in the books. That's something the TV show missed, is the extra exposition you get from people's internal monologues, and just haven't done that in the show. And yet, when the time came to read the pen, you turned away and admit, I do not understand why. I'm not going to tell you the war ended badly, but if he fought for Robert...
The rebellion was not nearly as noble as it is portrayed in the tales and songs.
I guess what they did in terms of because he did it, the reason Robert did it was for Ned Stark's sister.
Let us say that the last orders that I received left a
So
bad
I don't know if
taste
it was
in my
that
mouth.
noble.
I prefer to go. I did not want glory.
If he
won
did it
that
to
way.
take the Mad King out,
Courageous decision, sir. It is often easy to forget that it is our choice whether or not to obey. Perhaps it would Lord Tywin.
but yeah, give me all this, I'll lap this up.
Knighted him to reward him for his
Especially if there's some new stuff, some new insights.
For his
It's not just
unspeakable
going over the
brutality,
same
to
old
say,
stuff.
I had the opportunity to behold his work again in the square. Such
But
a
the
wild beast
Sarwicks
should not
are
be left to roam
a
free,
lesser
much
family in the
less granted a
Lannister
command.
house.
It is an invitation to disaster.
Have a care, my friend.
So they changed sides, the Lannisters. So I don't know if the Sarwicks did as well. Or they stood by until the end.
Great harm if you were to make him an enemy. I strongly recommend that you avoid making such remarks in public.
I'll be
I
careful,
watched him grow
Varys.
in both size and ferociousness.
He's kind,
I
this
know what
stepbrother
his
of yours that's going to marry your
No
sister,
need to worry, though.
he's
I won't
kind of like the
provoke you without
Mountain.
cause.
What a relief.
I think the TV show made Brienne essentially a female Mountain. It's one of the things I didn't like about her character.
I'm afraid that my little bird.
She's a bit too violent.
Demanding my attention.
She also teleports. She turns up. It's like the TV show creators think the Game of Thrones show takes place in a big field. Westeros is just a big field. Not, you know, a country the size of, say, the UK. No, it's just a big field. And Brienne has this teleporter where she can get to places in the field and run into Stark children. So many Stark children. Or Stannis Baratheon, or whatever. You know, whoever she needs to see. And it's just so implausible. And I'm someone who didn't particularly... Oh, here she is. I'm someone who didn't particularly like Feast of Crows and Dance with Dragons. There's just too much. It needs to be heavily edited. There's so much filler.
Shataya said that I might find you here.
So much
You are
nipple
not
tweaking
mistaken,
and
my lord. How might I
neeps
please
dripping in gravy
A
and
one-on-one
all
will be
nonsense.
enough to satisfy me.
Daenerys
Preferably
trying
far
on
from
dresses.
prying ears.
Brienne
My
walking
lord,
around the
please only close
countryside.
the door. At Shataya's, the walls are thick and the beds are deep.
But
Slow down. I just want to speak.
there are bits in all of the, even the terrible chapters that are, even the
Will be done according to my
Ironborn
lord's
chapters in
pleasure.
Feast for
I
Crows,
am
there are
master.
bits that are
How
brilliant,
I
like
imagine
good
that to mean
stuff,
something to you.
Sorry,
and bits that move the
by
plot
name.
on,
You are from Gawain's family, are you
or
not?
develop the
Did you say?
characters in some way.
How is he? When will he return?
I don't know where he is. She seems to have great affection for Gawain.
By R'hllor's flame. Why are you so concerned?
She loves
with my
him.
lord's
He's
future?
going to take her
My
away
lord,
from all this.
I know the realities of my profession.
Is
Shataya
Chattiers
teaches
the
well,
main,
but in a
like,
few
brothel
years I
in
will
the
be too
series? I
old
think
to
it
draw
is.
men's eyes. And what awaits me then? Begging or walking the docks? I wish not to marry him.
Let's speed
I'm
this
not
on a
that
bit.
naive.
I understand you're worried. You recently sent him a...
Yes, my lord.
We'll get into a bit more
Lambert,
combat.
his
I don't know if
servant,
we're going to
was
get to
sending
see
news,
Moors.
so that he wouldn't forget to pay.
He came here.
Yes.
But I like the
But my
contrast
message
with
was for naught.
sort of sunlight
Came
and
directly
snow,
here, soon after
fire and
arriving in
ice,
town.
as it were.
It was I who washed the dust of travel from him. He did not even go to his home first. He was very I tried to ask him questions about the patch. The last thing he said was
So
that
I
would
don't
go to
think
the Red
he
Keep,
did it.
that the crown would hear what
the
he had to
stepbrother
say, and
probably
he had
did it.
more than- He left at the first light of dawn.
Indeed.
I guess we're going to
It would
start an
appear that Gawain
investigation.
never returned to the Sarwick residence.
What do you plan to do, my lord? The
I've
city
got to
watch
find
has
him.
searched for him in vain for days.
Lord
Even
Varys does know
does not
all.
his whereabouts, and Lord
How do you
Varys
know
knows
who Lord
all.
Varys is?
Spoke of Gawain with the eunuch.
He asked me questions, my lord.
Yeah,
the same ones you
Littlefinger
did.
seems to have the power of like the NSA in the TV show.
Why would the master of Whisper...
I don't know why, but Lord Varys has always, as far as he knows.
I hate
the
what they
city
did with
watch never caught
Sansa
Lord
in
Gawain.
that.
The gold cloaks have nothing to
Like
do
he
with
would have
his
never sent
disappearance.
to Ramsay.
Yes, I thought so. I will go to the Red Keep.
Not
and see if I
without
can find
good
out more
reason, and it
about
wasn't a good reason in the TV show.
This cloak belongs to Lord Gawain. He forgot it.
Sorry, what
Take
did you
it,
hand me
please.
there? I don't think you hand me. I know this cloak.
By the fire. That's Sarwick Giltwaters. I
Oh,
remember
Sarwick
seeing Father wear it on
Giltwaters.
many a special occasion. Indeed, a cloak is more appropriate for a
Is
Lord
Sarwick
Gawain wore
Giltwater
it
my
when he came
dad?
to visit.
This cloak is worth a fortune.
You're making me blush. Frankly, I'm uncomfortable keeping this cloak in my residence.
You look
If the
pale as a
Guards were to
ghost.
find it, I could get into trouble. I pray to the maiden to help you in your search.
I don't believe in the maiden.
More than the help of an imaginary
See, I
brother.
also have fire abilities as well because I'm a red
Sure my
priest.
brother does as well. Fair-
Bye, Felena. Oh, can we not get rewarded? Nope, I guess not. There's that slowdown again. It seems to be more when I'm inside. Any point in going in here? Some loot, maybe? So yeah, the environments all look very similar. Quite ugly again. The textures, the design's not great, but I just like the fact that I'm exploring King's Landing in a game. That's great. If it's the TV show version, that's fine. I've been in there. Right, let's just get out of here. You know, that's what I want to do. Oh no, here's the gold cloaks again.
That's him. Halt there. In the name of the crown, I arrest you.
What is it I stand accused of, officer?
Because what they can do as well
Murder. Guards from the city
is
were
give
killed
them
in
all
my
this fancy
city.
armor and stuff in games. Because they don't have that same budget restriction. But the rebellion just looked crap.
returned
I
home
was
and
defending
your men
myself.
attacked me for no reason.
So
I
yeah, a
didn't
bit
wish to fight,
lazy
but your men wouldn't hear reason.
in terms of maybe the visuals and animation.
Clear things up in the Red Keep.
Because you can do that, you can have hundreds of people in a game.
Even people of your standing.
Even in games from 20 to 12.
What will become of him?
He will be stripped of his weapons and brought to the dungeons of the Red Keep.
Oh, don't do that.
Found guilty, tradition allows him to choose his own punishment. He will either be sent to the wall.
Oh, maybe I'm going to be sent to the wall.
beheaded.
Why didn't Ned just go to the wall? Or was he going to? Oh yeah, Joffrey just went, nope, fuck that.
And they would eagerly welcome
I think that show is missing a Joffrey.
a simple gesture from me and this
So Alice.
People seem to love the later series more though.
None of that here.
Like, as long as there's some action, or there's a shocking death,
Follow you.
I think they're milking that now. The last series I watched, they kill that little girl, they kill Stannis' daughter, and then in the next one they kill, spoilers, Jon Snow. And it's just like, and it's done much worse than it is done in the book. I just don't understand why they didn't keep, that's quite a nice looking scene with the lighting and the colours on the walls. I don't understand, yeah, what I was saying, that I don't understand why they don't
Courage,
keep
Alistair,
the
courage.
good bits.
Few days spent in the dungeons
of
Red
the
Keep
book.
won't be the death of me.
They had the
Bound to
prime,
send
the
me
sort of
someone to
perfect
speak with.
opportunity to take what is a book that has some really good stuff, but so much chaff, and cut that chaff away and just keep the good stuff.
Lord Varys.
Good old
It's
Varys.
too bad these surroundings are not as...
Long.
It looks
I'd
pretty
expected a
bad.
quick
Apparently
trial
I've been
when
here for a long
Lawrence Watch
time.
came to arrest me. I was mistaken.
But they didn't do that. They made up their own stuff, and the stuff they've made up themselves has always been worse, even in the earlier series that were really good. Series 1 is probably my favourite, because
Why are you
it just,
here?
it's a
Usually
great
my own
adaptation.
visitors are
Does have
rats.
some stuff added, but
The fact
obviously
that you
stuff's
don't
cut for
seem to
budget
care about
reasons.
yourself rather
But there's
pleases
actually
me.
bits just ripped straight out of the book, like actual dialogue, and it's just great. It's a great adaptation. I love it.
Someone decided to help me out
Some
of here.
big changes, say, take Rob's girlfriend and the reason he falls in love. I don't buy it at all.
Balance of the Seven Kingdoms
Doesn't
is
keep with his
delicate,
character.
and I predict
I don't think
more
he'd
of the
do
war to come.
something so
It is
stupid and
clear
break
you
that
have a role in
pact
what is
with
to come.
Walder Frey just because he loves her.
Leave these cells as a
They
fugitive.
could have sold it
Prefer to await
if
my
they'd made the
trial
love
with
story
my
good,
name
if they'd
on
made
the
us
crown.
believe it, but they didn't, at least not in my
I am
opinion.
sorry if I've ruined your
And in the
plans.
book, he basically does it for his honour, you know.
You must take back
He's
the
young,
restraint, keep
he
that traitor
he
for
sleeps with
last,
her
and put
after
his
she
hands on him.
heals
To
him
do that, my
in a
name must be
battle,
cleared.
and he
Otherwise,
feels
how can I
honour
plead
bound
my
then
case
to
before
marry
you?
her.
Cleared.
That's a very Ned
You
Stark
feel
son thing to do.
my friend.
He also
Who
doesn't
is
take
you?
her to the Red
One of
Wedding in the
last
book.
soldiers? Then it will be
I
my
love
word
the Red
against
Wedding
his.
in the TV show.
If
It's
they
not as
will go
telegraphed,
smoothly
but
as you imagine,
the fact that he
believe me, I tell you
takes,
that it
what's
will
her
be
name,
several
is just
weeks before the
idiotic.
trial. In the
And it was
meantime,
just another
surround
moment for them
me
to go,
by your
oh,
sister.
look, she got stabbed in the stomach. I mean, it's bad enough and shocking enough as it is. We don't need that as well, and it just came across as incredibly dumb. And they've ruined Brienne's story and Jaime's redemptive arc. He goes off to the sand snakes and, just, yeah.
Valar is the one who truly preoccupies you, is he not?
Anyway,
That's why you're here,
probably get stiff for that. People love the TV show. I don't hate it, but I'm just, like, disappointed, I guess, in the direction they've gone with things.
Common ground.
I'm listening.
I should probably be talking about this more, but, you know, it's Game of Thrones.
I doubt that a few
So it's
would be
kind of
allowed to
relevant.
approach her, much less speak to her.
You only knew Cersei Lannister.
Oh,
as an
Cersei. There's another character I don't think they did
Since her
particularly well
marriage
with,
to
especially in
the
Series
Storm
1,
Queen with a burning
which I
ambition.
mostly
Well
liked.
versed
Her
in
and the
war,
Hound
she
and
had been filling
Littlefinger.
court with her creatures for years.
So,
She's too sort of sympathetic.
Above all else is loyal.
Tried to make her too sympathetic, I think, in Series 1.
That is how Sir Valar moved up in court. Swear blind allegiance to the Queen. Become her devoted servant.
Maybe he slept with Cersei. No, she goes for blondes, family members.
allow me to thwart his ambitions?
Oh, I doubt that very much. It is quite likely that...
There is quite a lot of dialogue.
commitments, but she has never been capable
Luckily, you can skip through it.
she demands. Impress her. Make yourself more desirable.
Right, it's worth a try. I'll impress her. Oh, am I going to have to do like an impressing minigame?
The guard asleep at...
Very well.
Don't worry.
Why didn't Varys let Ned Stark out of the prison?
Paths known only to ghosts and...
Maybe he wanted him to die. I don't think he did, actually. Secret passages.
Are you saying that the
Yeah.
throne room can be accessed through...
Have I been tortured? Why have I got hideous burns? Or is that Red Priest's training?
The cruel made certain that these passages allow... It is
Yeah,
said
a lot of this is sort of exposition, like
Apparently that was not enough.
the sort of knowing nod, like,
But
oh,
don't
look.
forget, Lord Sarwick, it is my duty
But
to stay.
remember, this was set
I see.
just after the one series of Game of Thrones had come out, so
Pass by the row of cells.
do you think they had insight into what was coming up in the show?
It is a passage
I
to
don't know.
tunnels. Past that point.
Maybe they wanted to do a series. I know this is the Telltale one now. I've got it, but I haven't played it yet. Is that also
But do not expect my
concurrent? That's not the
help.
word.
Sure that helping me serves your plan.
Or is it a
I will
prequel?
wait you at the end of-
I
Good
think
luck
it takes place at the same time, but it's a
and I
completely
will see
separate
you
family,
soon.
kind of like this. Thanks for letting me out. I'll get into a bit more combat anyway. That was easy to escape. Think I need a weapon. The movement is also very floaty. It's not very nice. I can...
Flame.
Oh, whoops.
It's our quartermaster. So he's the one I heard yelling. May R'hllor welcome him to his light.
Yeah. I can see why it got panned, because a lot of it, I mean, presentation-wise and
Wine's too strong, eh?
Just
Obviously, Varys
controls.
truly knows how to live.
and the combat. I'll show you the leveling in a second. Just is that a guard or just armor? No idea. Says it wants me to go this way, so... Oh dear. Time for me to die. Right. So we can change targets with the D-pad. You do also get companions. The most I've had in a fight is 2, I think. Moors also has a dog, which adds another element of gameplay. This is my priest abilities. I can't do that because I need a flask. I need to fill up a flask with a special ability. Yeah, Moors has a dog that you can control in combat and out of combat to like sniff and find clues and stuff. I've only used that once. It's not a great mechanic, honestly, because you then have to backtrack to whatever the dog finds. Although you can get him to rip out throats, so... I think it's just the presentation and the controls on it, not great. So they could have been... It could have been so much better. I think, if we had tweaks to the combat. and the visuals. Just a lot of the gameplay mechanics, if they were just improved, this game would be so much better. The actual game part, right, we can show you in the inventory anyway, it's not particularly good. I am using a controller because the keyboard and mouse was fine for combat and stuff. In fact, it was probably better. But for the camera, it was just horrible. So, right, in the inventory, apparently I've got broadhead arrows equipped. I don't know why that is. So yeah, there it says damage and stuff. The inventory's fine, the screen, I guess. I don't really like the font they use. But let's stick my cloak on. Some gloves. Purple is like rare, essentially. There are shops everywhere. No, they do. Yeah, they're a bit better. So the heavier stuff, show you my stats in a second. I probably want to have light stuff with this guy, because actually that's medium armor, so that's pretty good. Which one have I got equipped? That one, the good one. So I'll do the leather boots because they're lighter, because I've got better stats in light. And different weapons, I've got different stats in. Let's go for rapier, although perforating I think is better for water dancers. Right, let's show you the leveling up anyway. I don't know if I can level up. Where is it? There it is. No, character page, here we go. So yeah, you have 5 attributes. This wasn't explained very well at all, really. Like, what's best for what class, I don't know. And then these are my abilities. When you level up, you get an ability point. And you get one for this as well. And then skills, this as well. I'm just putting it for, like, Water Dancer. It kind of says, oh, this will be better, light armor. So I put more points in that. I don't know how many I should be allotting to each, because you get like 15 points for every level up. So I've put them in swords and short blades because they're perforating, which are, I assume that's like pokey, you know, needle essentially. Put a hole in him. So I went for perforating and short sword. So it's not very well explained, and it's not that expansive, the leveling up. I don't know how well the different classes play either. Wow, but yeah, as you can see, you just clip through things.
The dragon.
Oh, is this the secret passage? Okay. Why is the wall glowing? Oh, okay. That's kind of like the dog ability. Except you sniff. You go into first person and you sniff. Why couldn't Varys just take me? Yep, I'm pressing A. Sometimes it doesn't register when you press A. Good, it did there. I wonder if I'm going to run into Tywin Lannister. Maybe they couldn't afford that sweet Charles Dance money. Yeah, there's also a lot of doors. It's a very linear game for an RPG, which is quite disappointing. You want to explore King's Landing. I mean, if I get to show you it, yeah, there's not much to it. It is nice to run around these environments, and the wall as well. You get to run around Castle Black, but yeah, it's very linear. There's lots of shopkeepers as well, and I don't have the money because it's so linear. You don't go back and forth to these places. Well, I guess you do in chapters when you get to a new chapter, but yeah, there's no need because you don't have much money, and because the sort of chapter is quite short and it's sort of separate from the shops, like you go to different areas and then you complete it and you come back, so there's no chance to shop essentially. But yeah, these doors don't do anything, do they? Don't know where I'm going. Oh, I guess this way. Hi, Varys. Oh, hi, Gold Cloaks.
Did you really think he could come through through here.
Don't even know where here is. Let's keep looking, agreed?
That's right. We'll keep looking.
Are we having a stealth section?
Resembling an exit, I'm getting out of here.
So they know about these secret passages, eh? How's that? Oh no. Can I go this way? No. I'm guessing I'm going to run into some... No, they can't find me. So this isn't particularly fun, wandering around this maze. This very samey looking maze. Yeah, when in doubt, pull a lever. What is he kicking? Is that a prisoner? Pull another lever, why not? Yeah, I keep picking up archery stuff, but I haven't used it yet. Usually there's a little arrow that tells you where to go on the mini-map, but I think I'm lost. Let's try going back. Maybe we'll edit this out. Oh no, this is the way, because here are guards. It's alright, I'm fully upgraded now, ready to kick your ass. Immobilize. So I'll go for the heavy guy first, I think. Yeah, so there's no, like, sort of dodge animation or block animation, really, even when you've got a shield. It's just the same kind of hit over and over again. So it's quite boring when it's just one of you. I mean, this isn't tactical at all, is it? Just occasionally I have to pick a new move. Right, I'll do the healing one now. I could probably just do my simple attack to beat them. I don't know if it auto heals me after combat. There are status effects and stuff, but I haven't been paying that much attention, to be honest. There's things like bleed and poison. I think he's bleeding at the moment. Let's just finish him off with one of these. Oh, no, nearly.
Thank you, my lord. One might say that you arrived just in time.
You're a bit old to be one of the little
What are you doing
birds.
in these tunnels?
Lord Varys sent me. He was worried.
Yeah, you've been a lot of help.
Very considerate of him.
I was also to warn you that the gold...
I saw that.
So,
Enough talk, child. You know
I've
the way
had
out of here?
numerous times
Of course, my lord.
of, yeah, following characters. That's how linear it is. Which is a shame in a Game of Thrones RPG. You want to explore the whole place. You want to explore a sort of open King's Landing with side quests and stuff. I have had some side quests, but it's like find a few things and stuff, so it's not very interesting. I think after this we'll probably get to see a bit of Moors and then I'll end it. Give you a bit of a summary. I don't know where he's gone. It's the problem when he ran off without me being able to see where he'd gone. Let's hope he's gone this way. Yes. Doesn't help that this area looks all the same.
If only I could find the mechanism.
Oh, I'll find it with my magic Light of R'hllor. I wonder if Ned Stark's down here. Has enough time passed that that's all happened? Here it is. You were standing right next to it, you idiot. How did you get here if you didn't know where it was? Come on. Are you following me now? I guess. Yeah, so I don't know. Am I only going to be finding gold if I go off? And most of these side entrances aren't letting me go there anyway, because there's all these locked doors that you can't get through. That's lazy games design, that is. So I don't know if they didn't have time to maybe make it a bit bigger, more expansive, or they weren't allowed to take that many liberties with the license. George is maybe a bit greedy with his license. He doesn't want... I don't know how much leeway Telltale have had. Maybe they've had quite a lot. Who knows? But as I say, this it takes place at the same time, but it's not sort of integral to the plot. Might lose all my health here. I've got no health potions. See, I said it was easy, but I'm actually dying. Oh no, I'm gonna die. Heal up. No, I'm not, because apparently you can just run out of combat. This is a tactic I used to use in Dragon Age. Right, I need to use the healing MacGuffin. Yes, that one. Go on, do it. Right. Oh no. Well, there we go. Game over. Load last save. Let's just see where I load up. It's not going to put me right back, is it? There is an auto-save. I'll sum up now, I think. If you've got it, if you are crazy for Game of Thrones, then I would say story-wise, this is worth checking out. It's intriguing enough. If you're just mad for more sort of Game of Thrones lore, even if it's not going to be vital to the plot, even if these characters die at the end, this is Game of Thrones, so there's likely to be some deaths, then it's interesting enough. Even if the voice acting, and some of it is terrible, you've actually been quite lucky in this playthrough to see some of the better voice acting. And it wasn't that good anyway, was it? So, yeah, some of it, it's like they just got the developers to do it or something. It's awful. And, yeah. So, for that reason, I wouldn't recommend it if you like RPGs. In terms of combat, sort of pause real-time combat, or a variety of quests, or just characters in general, because the characters aren't that interesting. It's more the story, that's really the only intriguing thing. The loot, the leveling's not that interesting. Just looking at this combat, I mean, it's dire, isn't it, really? It's hard to look at, it's not very interesting to play. Maybe it'll be a bit more interesting in later levels when I've got a few more abilities and I've actually got a teammate. But so far, no. But would I recommend you buy it just for some story? Probably not, no. And even playing it, I mean, there's the Telltale one now. And you don't have to do combat in that, at least I'm assuming. Maybe there's some minor puzzles, and they're pretty good at story as well. It's kind of a novelty, like... If you like Game of Thrones, play it. I'd maybe even say buy it, because I'm not absolutely hating the combat. It's not so bad I'd quit. I mean, I played through the whole of Dragon Age 2 and the combat, and that was pretty awful.
Lord well, I was also...
The story, I mean, the presentation in Dragon Age 2 is obviously a lot better. But, yeah, check this out if you're a Game of Thrones fan. And, oh, I didn't want to do that. And you maybe don't have the Telltale game. And I would say, if you're more a fan of the books, because what I think, let's end with this, the Game of Thrones TV show doesn't do the Game of Thrones aspect as well as the books. Which is kind of ironic, really, seeing as that's the thing they decided to name it. George R. R. Martin is much better in the sort of politicking and the intrigue.
Let me see.
Take King's Landing from Feast for Crows with Cersei's downfall and compare it to the, was it Series 5 stuff in King's Landing. The book stuff is just so much better. Yeah, Brienne traipsing around in the wilderness is pretty awful, but the stuff she does in the TV show is implausible and awful, as opposed to just boring and awful. Yeah, the Game of Thrones stuff is just better. And I hope he gets to finish it, but I'm I'm thinking I'm gonna have to give in like everyone else and just, I'm gonna have to watch the show. He's never gonna finish it, which is sad. But he doesn't seem to care anymore. So if I get something like this that he wrote, he wastes time with stuff like this. And other books, and writing blurbs, and writing his stupid blog. But this is a little more insight into the world of Westeros, and it lets you explore bits of Westeros, even if they look pretty ugly. I'd say, almost for novelty's sake, it's worth checking out. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Now our watch has ended. Or your watch has ended.
You've probably seen plenty of interesting things in your life. Tell us.
First of all, I was not a smuggler.
Weren't your crimes what led you to take the black?
Very well. If you really want to know, like half the men at the wall, I was once a farmer, with fertile lands and a family. Then one day, I lost everything. I was out hunting for stag, and when I returned home, there was nothing but smouldering ruins left. The wildlings were raiding along the coast, and it led them right to my home. My wife, she wasn't the type to let herself be pushed around by anyone. If you saw what they did to her...
7 hells! Every last one of those wildling monsters deserves to die.
All I had left was my warhammer. I found it while marching with the Starks during the rebellion. All I could do was take my boat and follow the scum across the Bay of Seals. Once I got to the other side of the wall, it was easier than I'd expected. They probably thought they were out of harm's way, and they were careless. They didn't even try to cover their tracks. When I finally caught up with them, it was dark out. The swine were getting drunk on what they'd stolen from me. So I waited for my moment. After a while, most of them could no longer stand. And that's when I went for them. First, I killed the watchman. But then one of their men saw me and cried out. It became a bloodbath. The drink had made them slow of foot and awkward. It made it easy for me. I don't know how long the killing lasted. When it was over, I was covered in blood, wounds, my clothes slashed to shreds. I said to myself, Pat, you're a dead man. Might as well let the cold take you. I let myself drift off. When I opened my eyes, I was in Castle Black. I had been picked up by rangers who'd discovered the camp. It took me a month to heal. In that time, I was accused of everything by the Brothers of the Night's Watch. Smuggling, being a wildling, and I just couldn't convince otherwise. So, as soon as I was able to walk again, I was given the choice. Take the black, or the noose.
You suffered an injustice, but you had the right of it to join us, brother. You have a new family now.
Incredible! I didn't know a killer like you was one of our recruits.
What about you, Walder? How did you get to the wall?
Let me think about it for a minute. Where to begin?